Alright guys, we are making the connection between the DSP and the Rockford Fosgate amp. And I've decided for simplicity and just for look, I want to make my own RCA cables. So I'm going to walk you through how I'm making them. I'm using this multi-wire bundle here. I'm just kind of roughly measured what I need, and then I just cut it, and that leaves me enough wire in there to do what I need to do. I just really gently take the outer layer off. Now I've already done 4 of these connections because I kind of wanted to play with it before I got it on video, so that I show you guys exactly how to do it. Just make sure you don't cut the insulation of any of the wires in the bundle when you do this. Then you can just peel it back, and you could do it with just regular speaker wire if you wanted to, or however you want to do it. I decided to do it this way. I had it. I bought more of this wire than I'm going to use in this project, so figured use it for this, you know. Just take your time. You don't want to cut through the insulation of the individual wires, but you want to be able to get it out of there, you know. This is 18 gauge, which is what I'm using to I'm using for the RCAs. I'm also going to be using it to tap into the factory head unit to get the signal to go to the DSP, and I'm also using it to feed the signal from the Rockford Fosgate back to the speakers. So 18 gauge is fine. This is a 50 by 4 on the well, actually it's a 5-channel amp, but the 4-channel part of it that's driving the speakers in the door and in the back deck lid, it's 50 by 4 RMS. So this is plenty. This wire is plenty big enough to handle 50 RMS. If you look at any of the calculators or anything like that online. But this is what you get. You get multiple wires out of it. I just cut a little bit. I'm going to use, now I've already did the front left and right, the rear left and right, and now I'm just going to hook up the sub. But I didn't figure, you guys, I didn't want to bore you with hooking up everything, so I decided to just kind of get my flow with this and then show you guys once I figured out exactly how I was going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to choose, this is going from the mono to the sub input here on the Rockford Fosgate. So the first thing I do is I pick which wires I want. I believe I'm going to go with the white and the violet. The others I'll set to the side because I may need them later. Okay, so I'm going to go with the white. I picked up these on Amazon. You can see they're how in the world is the battery dying on this? But you can see, let me turn this off. I'll be right back with you. I got to plug this thing up. The battery's dying. Okay, sorry about that, guys. But anyway, ordered some of these, and I'll put the link in the description. And they allow you to make your own cables. Now I'm twisting them as well for noise cancellation. But I'll show you how I make them. So you take your stripper, strip you off some. I've got these set at right at 5/16 of an inch is the way I've got these set. So takes off about 5/16. Anywhere 5/16 to a half be fine. Okay, so I got a box of what they call ferrules. Okay, you can use them, and these are the ones for 18 gauge, the red. So you just put it right on the end. Right, like that. And I bought the crimpers. Now you don't have to, because when you tighten the screw down, it will collapse this and make a crimp. But I bought the crimpers just because I like it to be a little extra protection. So you just put it in there right like that, squeeze it, and what it does, see the way it makes a crimp? Okay, there's 2 crimps. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this end on. Now make sure, now these wires are white, but one of them has a black stripe. So I'm going to use that as my negative. And you can see on these connectors they have like a positive and a negative. So just going to put the negative in there. The positive in the other side. Some of them I've had to loosen up to put them in there, but those I didn't. And you just tighten it down. I usually like to put a little bit extra torque on there, just to make sure they're in there good. Like I said, if you didn't want to buy the crimpers, this by screwing these down would cause the crimping action. But I just want it to, I just did it for insurance. Okay, so there and now you've got a really solid connection. And what I like to do now is take it and twist it for noise cancellation purposes. You want to make sure these wires are twisted, because anything running parallel to it can bleed over and cause distortion and crosstalk and all kinds of stuff. So I want to make sure these wires are always twisted like that. Now what I do, I kind of get a rough guesstimate or a rough measurement. From where I'm going to where I'm going. So I'm going from the mono here to the connection here. So roughly right there. So I like to leave it just a little long, because you can always cut more off, but you can never put more on. Okay. So now we're just going to repeat the same process on this side. Do your strip it, twist it, get your ferrules, put the ferrules on, and it'll tell you on the box, if you buy the box of them, it'll tell you what color goes from what to what gauge wire. In this particular set, the red goes for the 18. You want to make sure you put them all the way down in the little cup. Way, you know. And now we're going to, because I've got the crimpers, put Push it up. Crimp them. There they are. Look good. Take the other end. Negative to negative, positive to positive. Put them in there. Tighten them down. Guys, this is the way I'm doing it. You guys, if you've got a better way to do it that way. I'm just, you know, I've done it this way before and it's worked. I just like the ability to make my own length of cable. Now you can do it with the solder type. You can buy these that you can solder. I have no problems with that. I've done those too. I just saw these, thought they were neat, and decided to try them, test them out. So now I'm using the Tessa tape just to make everything look nice. Cover up all this. Always, I'll go up on the connector like that. So that way it covers the terminal block. And then I just very tightly wrap in the same direction as the twist. And what this does is it locks that twist in. Now the cable can't untwist. Shoo. Fighting this cold, guys. Shoo. Nasty stuff. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying these how-to videos. If you are, please take a minute and hit that subscribe button. Because I'm going to continue coming out with this stuff, and I'd hate for it to be something you're interested in and you miss it. Now what I always do, I just like to do it I like to just do a quick test on the cable. Let's put it in the continuity mode. Alright, positive looks good. Negative looks good. So there is a custom made to length cable. So I can plug it in down here, and I can plug it in right here in the amp. It's a tight fit, that's what I want it to be. Now I gotta do the top one. I'll do that one with you guys too here. See why I didn't want to do all 6 of them, because it's after 1 or 2 you kind of get the point of how I'm doing them. So first step, let's strip it. Using violet this time. Violet and black. Violet with a black stripe. Getting my correct ferrule here. I love that word ferrule. I don't know why. It's like Earl with an F. It just makes me chuckle. Okay. Crimp the ferrule onto the wire. Now, let's see. These little guys come in packs of 10. I'm going to leave a link to the description. on I bought them on Amazon, so actually came from China, and it didn't take me long to get them. I figured it'd take longer. Because when I placed the order, I saw it was coming from China, and I went, oh man, it's going to take forever. But it didn't. Like I said, I've used the soldering type too. They work really well. I use those quite a bit in DJing and pro audio stuff. Okay, so now I'll do a little twist. See, that creates a good twist, and it can't, the interference and everything should be minimized. Go ahead and plug it in, kind of get a rough guesstimate of where we're going. So, see, right in there. Cut it. I have already tested this type of cable, and it really works well. Like I said earlier, I'm wanting this to be a really good sound. So I didn't want to do this if it wasn't up to my standards, but I was really happy with the way it all goes together, and just there was no interference or anything in the test environment, so hopefully it'll work really well in the car. Now I'm gonna, in the Fiat, my wife's Fiat, I'm gonna do a DSP amp. The DSP and the amp will be built together. It's going to be an amp by audio control that has everything built in, simply because I don't have much room in that car, and I don't know, I just kind of want to play with that and make sure and see how that works. No sense in doing the same thing over and over. We're doing the same type thing in her car. We're not going to be bass hungry. We're going to go for high fidelity, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay, so there's, before I put the Tessa tape on, there's the way it looks. Looks really neat with the furls and everything, the way it is. And I always start out on the connection itself, cover the terminal blocks, then I go really tight down the wire in the same direction as the twist. I want to lock that twist in, that way, you know, there's no interference. And when I get to the end, do a couple rolls and then go up on the terminal block on the other end. Yeah, this is stuff that I'd rather do sitting here in the garage before we put the enclosure and the box and everything in the car, because I'm more comfortable here. I can show you guys it's a better angle, and it's much better to get everything ready before you put it in the car to do the hookups. Pretty much we're going to do the whole enclosure and everything, and the only thing that we'll lack when we get this done is hooking up the ground wire, which I'm going to do at one of the seatbelt locations for the back seat. I'll show you that in the car. And we're going to run the power wire. And other than that, everything here, well, and getting the signal from the head unit and taking it back to the speakers. But the point is, we're going to try to do everything we can out of the car and then make those connections, you know, once it's in the car. But right there is the signal wires hooked, made from the DSP to the Rockford Fosgate amp. And just to give you guys an idea, we're gonna, while I've got it rolling, we're going to do the connection from the sub port on the amp to the sub clips here. Now the sub's not in the enclosure yet. We're going to do that here in a minute, but we're going to go ahead, since we're here, we're going to make all the connections that we can right now while we've got the ferrules out and got everything working the way it needs to be working. Let me see here. Just wondering where my Allen wrench went. Okay, for the speaker wire to the amp, from the amp to the sub, of course we're going from the sub to there. Now this amp, which every amp I've ran into has been the same, internally this is a 5.1 or 5 channel, so you've only got one channel, so it's a mono channel coming out. Now these two, you'll notice you have 2 blocks, but internally they're in parallel. So if you ran 2 4-ohm speakers, one 4-ohm here, one 4-ohm here, you'd have a 2-ohm load. If you ran 2 2-ohms, you'd have a 1-ohm load. If you just want one sub like we're running, and I'm running a 4-ohm sub because that's what I have, and like I said, it'll do the job I'm wanting to in this car. So it's just going to be a 4-ohm load. So this system is going to put out 50 by 4 to the speakers, the door and the back deck lid speakers, and then it's going to put out 200 RMS in a 4-ohm load. So let me see, we're using 14 gauge for this particular thing. Let's look on our ferrules here what color 14 gauge is. So that will be blue. So we need to get 4 blue ones. And I'll put a link to this kit in the description too. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, but that's kind of your most common ones. Some of the wire on that, so let's go down a little bit. got a little sloppy there. And everybody's got their own way of doing it. I'm just showing you the way I do it. If you don't want to do it my way, don't do it my way. I won't get upset with you. That's the same technique as with the other wire. Just slip it over. I got the crimper. You don't, well, you would if you were going to do it like I am. You'd want the crimper, but on the amp side, when you tighten this screw down, it'll cause it to crimp. But there we go. See? Makes a really tough connection. You can't, it's hard to beat. We'll do the same on the other side. And me, I always do it the same way every time I'm doing something. I'll make sure that the stripe, unless it's a red stripe, well, let me turn this meter off. Unless it's a red stripe, always the stripe is the negative. So this one has a white stripe. Let's see, where's it at? Right there. It's got a white stripe on it, so I always, unless it's a red stripe, I make sure that that's the negative. So let's go ahead and I'm going to clip this in just for measurement purposes here. So I know it's got to come down into this valley, and we're going to dress this up a little bit. I'm going to show you how I'm going to plan on doing that, and then we know it's got to come up to here. So we don't want too much going on. We don't want to be run out of room either. So I'm going to start right here. Of course, you guys know I'm in love with the Tessa tape by now. Negative is on that side, so that works out really well. So I'm going to unclip it. Separate my wires here. Try not to do what I did last time. Oh, let's see here. Go ahead and strip your wire. Do your little twist. Put your ferrules on. See how perfectly that fits up on that little. The number one thing I see people do is get in too big of a hurry and not think it out, you know. Okay, so I want to make sure that I've got enough out to where I can see the polarity. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and of course I'm going to wrap it with Tessa tape because I don't like this blue showing. I want it to look as factory as possible. And some of you may differ. I mean, you can, hell, you use whatever colors and stuff you want to use. If you notice, I even used it here to cover up my screws because I didn't want to see the screws. The only color I want really to be seen here is the black from this. I left just enough so I can identify which one's positive and which one's negative. Let's go ahead and plug that in. It's going to come down here, and we're going to plug in, get the twist right. Negatives on that side, so go ahead and undo our terminal block. And see what I mean by we're going to do as much outside the car as we can. See, this is something you can definitely do now before you put it in the car. Need to take your time here, make sure you got it all the way up in there so that this terminal block can do its job. Oh yeah. Let's see, this even crimps that ferrule even more and lets it really get all of its energy from the amp to the speaker, which is ultimately what you're wanting to do. Just tighten it till you feel comfortable with it. And there we go. And now we're going to do some wire dress up. And this much blue here, I think it looks good, because it's not overly done, you know. So there we go. We've got the audio control signal wires interfaced with the Rockford Fosgate amp. We've got the sub enclosure tied to the sub portion of the amp, the sub terminals of the amp. So now what we need to do is make sure those are in there good. Yeah. Now we need to put the sub in, and yeah, need to install the sub, but there's some more stuff here. I don't want to do that quite yet. There's some more stuff here that I want to do, like the ground wire I mean the remote wire, the remote out goes to here, and there's no need to run a remote wire from the front of the vehicle or try to tap into a switch 12 volt, because the audio control has signal sense, so it can tell when it receives a signal from the head unit, an audio signal, and it turns on, and then it sends a remote out to the Rockford faucet. So if you're installing this system, sorry for the coughing, guys. If you're installing this system with the audio control, even though it has a remote in, you can turn on the, I think it's already on. It's already got the signal sense turned on. So when it sees either a high or a low end signal, it will turn on and send the remote out signal to turn the Rockford faucet on. So I don't need to find a switchable 12 volt or try to find a remote anywhere else. I've simply just got to run a wire from the remote out to the remote in of the Rockford faucet, and that's it. And you're also going to run the ground and the power from the Rockford faucet. It's all going to be off of that 4-gauge wire that we're running to the front, and it's going to be grounded where that seat belt is. But we're going to get into that. Let's see, what are we? Well, this is going to be part 6, and that will be part 7. Is going to be running the power and signal wires. Part 6 is going to be doing what we're doing. You're in part 6 now, so this is going to be interfacing this, getting this hooked up, which we just did, installing the sub, getting the box, the enclosure ready to go in the trunk, and installing the box in the trunk. So that'll be part 6, and then part 7 is running the signal and the power wires and tying the whole system together. Part 8 is going to be beginning tuning. It's going to be setting the gains, finding out. We're going to take the SMD tool and we're going to find where the stock system clips. We're going to set the gains and we're going to begin tuning the system. We're going to set the audio control. We're going to let it kind of automatically do its job. And then part 9, we're going to actually put a microphone in the driver's seat. We're going to use the tools to professionally tune the system and get it laid out just right. So just to give you guys an idea of what's coming up in the future. So let's see what we need to do now. Alright, I'm back from lunch. Got me a Monster. I'm ready for the long haul now. Let's see, we got our screwdrivers here. Make sure we got the right one. Oh yeah. So we've got our input cable with all the connectors. Got our furrows on it. Everything looks good. Now we just need to look at our wiring pattern. What I did is I took a picture of everything before I started at the way I was wanting to lay it out. So I'm going to go green. Green is for the driver's front. Violet is for the passenger front. The slate color is for the driver rear, and the white is for the passenger rear. Now this is just a code that I made up. You guys can use whatever, you know, you want to, as long as you keep it consistent throughout the build. So I'm going to start out with the green. So the far left is green, is negative green. So let's see what we can do here. There we go. And then we're going positive green, which is solid green. And it's a tight fit, which is good. And now we're going with, let's see, it's violet, I think. Yeah, violet. So negative, so the black stripe. And violet positive. So that's what it looks like in the connector with the ferrules. Makes it for a really clean looking installation. It's hard to find anything wrong with it. Just tighten these down on the terminal block of the DSP. I'm a little OCD, so they have to all be straight. There we go. There's the connector, the input connector coming from the car. Now we're going to do the other. So we'll start with slate. Let's see, slate black, which is that one. And regular slate. And white black. And just white. Now there's the connectors. I got to tighten the terminal block down. And of course, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to test the tape it, make it look really good. The way I like to look at it is if I want it to look factory. I want it to look like if Ford put this system in this car, what would they do? And I have a feeling it would look a lot like this. So alright, so let's get the test tape out. Because I don't want all this color showing. The whole theme of the build is back here is kind of a dark black color. So I'm coming out here where it's kind of forked. I better make a mark before I keep going. Let me get me a pen. Okay, so I'm just going to put me a mark on this one, because that one's the first one. That one's channels 1 and 2. This is channels 3 and 4. Let's see. Now that you got the where they fork off, you go down the main line here. Now I wanted it to, let me see if I can rearrange. Yeah. So this is the bottom of the box down here. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to come up from the bottom of the box, come up and around the DSP. So you come up and around and plug in right here. So that way everything looks really neat, clean, smooth. Of course we're going to have wire management. We're going to have wire guides built into this little part here to make sure the power wires, the signal wires, everything stays secure. As you can see how it's coming along here. Okay, that's enough test tape for there. Okay, so here right here's your plug in. So you can see it just plugs in right there, and this one plugs in right beside of it. And then this hooks right around the amp like that. Comes straight out, hugs around the amp, and comes out the bottom. So there is our input. Our input from the car to the DSP. So next we've got I'm going to take this wire, double it back, cut it straight in half, and then we're going to go from the output on the amp back to the speakers. And what we're going to do is, once we remove the head unit from the car, we're going to have the outputs come and connect into this one we just did. And it's going to come back, go to the input in the DSP. It's going to be processed, amplified, and then it's going to go back out and back back into the wires. The wires are both going to be spliced behind the head unit. We're not running new wires to the speakers simply because the internal wiring can handle 50 watts RMS. That's no problem. So, but there's the input. Now the wire management. We gotta get some wire management in place here. I bought some things. I'm not sure. But as you can see, we're doing everything we can before we actually put this box in the car. We want to, it's going to be too small. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to need to get some different stuff. That's alright, I got to run to, well, no. It works. So we're just going to put these little wire management clips in place, and that way you can take the box and keep it kind of as its own little module, you know. But when we get started on this, I'll come back with you. I'm just going to neaten up the wires a little bit, and then once again I'm going to show you the whole thing when we're done. Before we put it in the car, I'm going to do kind of an overview and show you how everything's done. I just want you to see how I'm terminating everything with the ferrules and the system and the crimpers. And hey guys, welcome back. We're going to install the subwoofer now. I got the enclosure up on the bench here. The amp's on the other side of this. And we're really close to actually putting it in the car, so that's pretty exciting. So we're doing the same thing that we've been doing. We're going to attach the sub with ferrule. The way this sub, it's got screw down connections. You can use the banana plugs, but I don't have any. This will be a really good connection for it. So I know it's blue. Let's see, 14 gauge is blue, so need some of the blue ferrules. We're using 14 gauge wire we used it on the other side of the, over here with the amp, and we're using it inside the enclosure itself. This is a sealed enclosure, it's not ported. And we've done, let's see, yeah, it should sound pretty good. Make sure we get our polarity right. Absolutely perfect. It's a really nice connection when you use these. It's really tickled. Okay, so I'm going to leave enough to where we can take it out if we need to. And on the other side, we've got to use this type of connector, which I love and I hate. I've had good luck out of them, and then I've had bad luck out of them. Hopefully I'll get, with this 14 gauge wire, I think I can get a good crimp. So feeling pretty good, having a good day, so I'm thinking it'll continue looking good. Alright, there it is all the way up in there. The trick to these is just knowing where to do the crimp. There we go. Always do two. That looks really good. I'm having a good day, guys. This is all the connections seem to be doing good. Might need to go play the lottery. Alright. Now, the far side one is positive, so I do need to take these pliers because they there we go. So I'm making a connection. Maybe I spoke too soon about having a good day. Give me some light in here. See what I'm doing. So this is the positive. May need to open them up just a little bit more. Oh yeah. Good fit. And then this one's the negative. Do the same thing with it. Good connection. I'll bring the camera over here so you can see what I'm doing. Made the connections in there. Okay. All right, now we're gonna measure and do it. So I've got a tape measure here. Just need to make sure this thing is centered. Pretty close. 7 1/4. 7 1/4. Eleven 3/4. Well, that tapers in more there. 7 1/2. 7 1/2. So right there she is. I mean, it's centered. So let's go ahead and put our screws in it. Alright, there's one. Now I don't pre-drill these holes because the carpet, you can get it unravel real easy on you. Okay, now that we got it to this point, we can set it back up. Now that we've got it true. Oh yeah, looks good. So now we can go ahead and put the rest of our screws in it. And like I said, if when we're tuning it, if it needs, we'll know more about what it needs, if it needs anything, you know. Because we're going to get the audio control spectrum analyzer, and we'll be able to tell more about what we need to do, if it needs some acoustic insulation or what we need. Alright, there is the sub mounted. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to use a little detail spray, clean it up. I think it looks great. Alright guys, here it is. It's in the car. I mean, look at that. It looks great. Especially when you come inside the car, see where the amp's at. I mean, it's just showcased right there. This looks really good. And that's the other seat down. Look how tight everything fits. So you can put that one up, and then when you're finished tweaking or whatever you need, plus you got an extra little cubby here if you want to keep you know, something hidden or whatever. You can got a little space right there at the bottom. You can. And then here's the one cord that we put. That's the input from the head unit. But yeah, this is part 6 done. So we've got the amp, the DSP mounted in the car. We've got all the wiring done inside. I mean, as much as we can do without it being in the car. I think it looks great. I'm really happy with it. You would never know that it was even back here. Plus, you don't lose much trunk space at all. I think it's awesome. And if you need to adjust it, you just pull over, slide the front seat forward, flip the back seat down, and you've got all of your controls there. And see, the audio control is programmed via a USB port right there, so you can get to it real easy. And you can actually, I'll probably put a snake the USB cord up to the front. That way I can just hook my laptop up there. I don't know. I may do that, or I may just leave it to where I can hook it up if I need to, because it came with a pretty long USB cord. But anyway, I am really happy with it. Really happy. I think it looks great. I can't be happier with this box. I'll put the link. I put the link in the first video if you want to see where I got the box, but I'll put it in this one too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing's going to sound. And you see the way I did the connections. See the way they go up and around the amp. You can't see them. Then they come down to the side. Well, this concludes part 6 of the installation. We've got the sub enclosure and the amp and the DSP and everything partially wired and installed into the car. The next part, we will be finishing up the wiring. We'll be running the power wire to the front of the car. We will be accessing the wires behind the head unit, both getting the output to go to the DSP, and then we'll be also carrying the amplified signal for the speakers back, and they will both be tied in behind the head unit. Yeah, so essentially the next part in this series, we're going to finish the hardware installation. And then the next episode, I think it's part 8, we're going to be setting the gains, find out where this factory one's clipping. We're going to be doing a lot of the pre-tuning stuff. We're going to let the DSP kind of do its job at working on that factory Frankenstein of a signal and get it leveled out a little bit. But then in part 9, we're going to really tune it. We're going to get the spectrum analyzer. We're going to have the microphone in the driver's seat. We're going to really dial this thing in, and I think it's going to sound great. I mean, you know, the amp, it may not be a big powerhouse. It's but I think it'll really rock this car out. So the system's designed to be, you know, audiophile type sound, not, you know, just bass. So the sub has plenty of power for what we're wanting to use it for. So, but I just want the whole idea of this Mustang is to be a really nice environment to listen to music, and to drive. I really want the performance, the most performance I can get out of it, and something for me and my little boy to have fun in. He's he's too small to really ride motorcycles, so we can enjoy this, and hopefully we won't. Hopefully we'll have it for a long time to come. But you guys take care, and I'll see you on the next part, and we'll finish wiring this thing up, and we're one step closer to having the Stang audio dialed in. So you guys have a good one, and I'll see you next time.